Hey everyone, so I'm doing a video on trigonometric identities. This is your trig identity. It's derived from the unit circle. So basically if you had the unit circle and you drew the full circle and then you drew the triangle, well the angle in the first quadrant, where this being theta, you can draw a triangle in that first quadrant, labeling this x and labeling that y, and this is 1 because it's a unit circle. This is just a right triangle, so I can apply the Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I can put a as x squared and b as y squared, and then 1 squared. In trig, you learn that x is cosine, so this is really cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta equals 1, and that's how you get this formula. Now this formula helps us out finding a variety of trig values, including sine, cosine, and tangent. So in this first example, I'm going to use my trig identity, cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta equals 1 to find cosine. Now they're telling me that it's in quadrant 2. This is where theta is. And I know that this is sine's quadrant. So when I find cosine, it's going to be a negative answer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in sine in for where sine is. This is all of sine. So I'm going to do plus 3 over 5 and then square it because there's a squared here. And I only know a single sine, not a sine squared. Now I'm going to put cosine squared theta. Cosine squared theta, I'm going to square this and make it 9 over 25 because 3 squared is 9 and 5 squared is 25. Now I'm going to solve for cos by subtracting 9 over 25. And I'll end up getting cosine squared theta equals, this is really 25 over 25, 25 minus 9 is 16 over 25. And to get my cosine, I'm going to take the square root, and I get cosine of theta equals plus or minus 4 over 5. Because the square root of 16 is 4, and the square root of 25 is 5. Now remember from before, I know that I am in quadrant 2, because they tell me in the beginning of this problem, they say, I'm in quadrant 2. Okay, and we already said that in quadrant 2, only sine is positive, so I'm only going to take the negative answer for cosine, because cosine is negative in quadrant 2. For the next question, it asks you to find sine, so I'm going to use my trig identity to find sine. This is going to be cosine. I know cosine is, they tell me radical 3 over 2. So it's going to be radical 3 over 2 all squared in the place of cosine. And I'm just going to put the squared there because I only know a single cosine, not a cosine squared. And this is going to get me 3 over 4 equals 1. I'm going to subtract 3 over 4 to get my value of sine. So it'll be sine squared theta equals, again like the last problem, 1 is 4 over 4. So 4 minus 3 is 1 over 4. And I can solve this by taking the square root and getting sine of theta equals plus or minus 1 over the square root of 2. Now in this problem, we know, oh by the way, it's 1 over 2, my bad, because the square root of 4 is just 2. Okay, so again, square root of 1 is 1, square root of 4 is 2, so I have 1/2. I'm in quadrant 1, so I'm going to take the positive value of sine because everyone is positive in quadrant 1. Remember, all students take classes, so quadrant 1, everyone is positive. A stands for everyone. For the next one, it says if cosine of x equals 0.61, find tangent of x if angle x is in quadrant 4. So I'm going to write my theory here. I'm going to use x instead of theta here because they're using x as the angle and not theta. Now, they tell me cosine, so I have 0.61 squared plus sine squared theta, well, x in this case, equals 1. Now, remember, they're not even asking for sine, but they're asking for tangent. And the reason why this theory will help us is because you should know that tangent of x is equal to sine of x over cos of x. Now, good news for us is that we have the cos of x. It's 0.61. Okay, we just need to find the sine in order to solve this properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 0.61 squared and I end up getting 0.3721 plus sine squared x equals 1. I'm going to subtract 0.3721 to get sine squared of x alone. I end up getting 0.6279. Then I'm going to take the square root of this, and I get sine of x equals 0.7924. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in for sine. So tangent is equal to 0.7924 over 0.61. And I'm going to do that in my calculator. So I'm going to divide 0.7924 divided by 0.61. I end up getting 1.299. Now I'm in quadrant 4, okay, because that's what they said, and I found tangent. So in quadrant 4, cosine's positive, so this answer for tangent will be negative. And that's how you do it.